And we are live. Great day, everyone. Welcome back to another incredible episode of the Gale Show. Extremely excited to be here. As always, my good friend Jim. Good to see you, my man. Good morning.
Thank you, Matthew. It is a fantastic morning. There's so many amazing things happening. And I'm so excited about this call today. I met Tag at a workshop called the Next Steps Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And I tell you, I've done a lot of developing in my life. And where I completely failed, Tag has completely succeeded. And I'm so excited to share, Tag, your message and how you're doing this. So welcome to the show, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is super cool. I've been excited about this since, a couple of days ago.
Yeah, good deal. Well, tell us a little bit about I love your background and how you came to be here right now, especially in the last few years, but anything you want to share about your background and the why and how you came to be where you are right now. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a recovering financial executive. And, I spent a lot of years doing it. And, I got myself into a place basically where the company that I really built, because I was the first employee the company had, and we were going to go form all of these companies, and we did. And, 13 years later, we were doing about $150 million a year and, just good stuff. But anyway, they asked me to mandate the vaccine for all my employees. And, a lot of people don't know this about me, but it really was never about the vaccine to me. I think that it's a personal thing and people do whatever they do. And, freedom works both ways. You can't be free if I'm the only one dictating it. Right. I mean, so you have to support it either way. Although, personally, I was opposed. It really wasn't about that. It was about tyranny, and it was about overreach. And it was about when is it that a company has the ability to own the employees' bodies? And this is the stand that I took. And, not long after that, I was being escorted off of a stage because I kind of dropped the bomb. They didn't see it coming that I wasn't going to do it. So, I got done with that and I figured, what, this has got to stop. And I can't live a life where someone has that kind of stroke over me. I just can't do it. I've got to find a better way. And so I went and built me a, complete off-grid homestead. And people think off-grid, they think, you live in a little cabin in the woods. It's simply not it, I mean, it's just not, I live in a 5,000 square foot super house, completely off-grid. And, but that only takes you so far, right? So my family's super free, right? I have no water bill, no electricity bill. I have no sewer bill. I have no mortgage. I have, none of those things. But for then after that, it was okay. Now what? I did all these things and this is cool and all that, but I can't spread freedom just being an isolationist sitting on my own, piece of property. So I just got on the offense and I built things like freesteading.com, which is it's a social media platform that I pay for out of my pocket. I don't charge anybody for it, not a penny. Because what it's about is getting people to yoke up, as the Bible says, you yoke your animals to work as one team. And so we did exactly that. And then I really got on the offense and I started speaking all over the country about tyranny and freedom and standing up and doing the right thing and community. And then our community is, we have this, Jim, this badass community here, and we've got about 900 people total in the community, but about a couple hundred of them are active and about 70 of them really do it all. But so I'm surrounded by, these like-minded people. And what you were referring to, Jim, earlier is the thing that I figured out in all of this. This was through failure, just so you guys know, Matthew and Jim. Okay, I didn't do this. Okay. So the first couple communities that we really worked within failed, and they failed because I missed an important part, which was you get in these interpersonal fights about, my kid got more cereal than your kid did, or you get in these silly, why did you leave me there? Or why did I not do this? These silly interpersonal things. And so I came to the conclusion the way I was going to fix this is with sovereignty. And so what we did and what we're continuing to do is just continuing to buy up land. And when land comes up for sale, I got a video coming out here tomorrow on another piece of land I just found. And then we sell them off to homesteaders. I don't make any money doing it. I'm not in it for that. Well, what happens is that community just continues to grow and continues to grow. So then you get to start thinking, okay, now what's next? Well, let's take over the school board. So we have a community member sitting on a school board and the county commissioners. We have 3 county commissioners that really dictate a lot of things. We have one now and we have an election coming up. We have another one running. And if we can get them elected, we have 2 of 3. And if I have two of 3, now what can I do, right? Now I have the majority. And so we can really sit down and start looking about taking taxes away. Like one of the things I'm proposing is anybody at retirement age, at age 65, no longer pays property tax. Because what a shame that these old people pay their houses off, you know, and live there their whole entire lives, and pretty quick they can't live there anymore because they can't keep up with property tax. So we're going to keep the fight going. I don't know if that was too much or not enough for you.
No, buddy, that was absolutely badass. And there's so many layers to that we'll kind of uncover here. We're going kind of next level. Property taxes are unconstitutional. They're a slave tax. So I couldn't agree more on this whole thing. And now's the time. In the history of the world, now people have tried to do this before, but they've always done it kind of, they want to hide and do it because they realize the long arm of the evil legal system is going to come and harm them. Well, we're kind of doing it the opposite way, right? As public as it gets. And then if there's force and violence cast upon us, then we will shine a light on that force and violence. And the individuals who are perpetrating the force and violence will be shown, and they don't want that light on them. That's our thought. But so I love what you do.
Yeah, they say, you know, don't piss off an old man because he ain't got the patience. There's some truth in that. You know, one of our founding fathers once said, if there shall be trouble, let it be in my time, so my children know peace.
I love that.
And, you know, at the end of the day, they can't take anything from me. I mean, I'm a grown man. My kids are grown. What are they going to take from me? Nothing. So bring it on, tough guy. I don't care. I mean, I'm going to keep screaming from the perches. I can assure you.
Yep. And you're not going to let them take your liberty no matter what.
No.
Man. So, okay. So people buy, you find these chunks of property, people buy in. And I asked you this question the other day, and it was just such a simple, awesome answer. I said, what is the key to the success of your community?
Yeah. It's being ungovernable.
Ungovernable.
Right. And at the end of the day, there is no HOA. And I get this question all the time. What are your guys' rules? We don't have any.
Because there's no ruler.
There's no ruler. It's not that. It's a bunch of homesteads. And not even just homestead. We have people who live in apartments, but it's a bunch of people coming together for a common good. And so there is no rules. You know, I get this question all the time. Well, you know, what's my standing? Your standing is how involved you are.
There you go.
It's that simple. If you want people to come to your aid, you better show up when they need help. Yeah. If you want people to help you build that barn, then you better show up when someone else needs their field hay. It's not complicated. You know, you want to be a leader and you want to lead this group, show up. Be involved. Or just don't.
Right. Or just don't add value, and then value will come back to you. Or don't, and then it won't. It's so ridiculously simple that it really is fun.
Oh, I love it. I love every bit of it. And I try to get involved in as many of them as I can. I miss one here or there, but typically I'm at every single homestead rotation. Typically I'm at all of them, helping whatever the task happens to be. You know, later today I'm going to a homestead to help them get some fencing squared away to a new family who moved in here. You know, last year we got, I think 4 families moved in last year into the community, and I'm hoping to double that this year if I can, if I'm successful.
Yeah. So, and you told me about one the other day where I think it was chopping wood or storing wood for winter or something. How many people showed up? And it sounded like it was just a lot of fun.
Oh, we had a blast. So yeah, this was one we did at my house. So I do one every year at my house because I got to be involved in the whole process too. And I like to save firewood because I hate cutting firewood.
Yeah.
So that's the one I like to save for my homestead rotation. So I put up 2 log splitters, a chipper, and a sawmill, all in a big row, brought a bunch of logs down, and 46 people showed up. We put up 13.5 cords of wood, mulched a ton of mulch, you know, all the brush and all that got all mulched up. And then the big logs we cut into lumber. And so we had pallets of lumber, pallets of firewood, and a whole bunch of mulch. And it took us, I think, about 7 hours to do all that. But it was badass. You know, we ate and poked fun and, you know, just we're silly all day long. So it wasn't, you know, stressful at all. But you want to see how people react in trouble. Get them in stressful situations just like this. Let's work really, really hard. Let's get tired together, because I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you a lot about you on hour number 7, hour number 8.
Right.
Yeah. And, are you complaining, or are you still working with a smile on your face?
That's right. That's right. Are you making fun of the guy next to you, or are you bitching?
Yeah.
I want the guy who's making fun of the guy next to him.
That is fun. Gosh. Go ahead, Matthew.
Well, so first of all, like, you found the property, moved your family there, and then started building out, or was this already in existence?
Yeah. So I'm kind of a closet prepper in a lot of ways, just because of the way that I grew up. So I've kind of lived this lifestyle for a long, long time. But so the community not really the community that exists today, but the beginning parts of the community already existed. We would go to conferences together, or we would do whatever, but it's just kind of morphed into this. I hate using the word communal because it's not what people think it is. It's not a bunch of people shacked up on one farm, eating granola together. It's just really not what it is. It's a whole bunch of individual sovereign homeowners, landowners who collectively work, kind of for the same good. But I think, Matthew, you asked something I think is really important for people to understand, which you mentioned, how do we find the land? Did you just go find this land? So this particular land, I did what was called a threats and needs analysis. And I'm kind of an overanalyzing guy just by nature. I come from the risk business. So I can't help myself. And so I went and looked at all of my concerns and then laid over top of it my needs. And what happened in this process is it just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I came to about 150-mile circle. And inside that circle is where we began to look for land. And I looked at lots of them and eventually found one 65 miles from my ground zero. I had a pin, right? But I ended up actually finding the piece that I live in at 65 miles because it had everything I wanted almost, But so we went through a huge process to find our land.
What were some of those things that were real important?
Yeah. So I wanted to be away from population. Okay. So I'll give you some examples of how I implemented that piece. So I said, okay, anything west of the Rocky Mountains, I just cut off because the Rocky Mountains create a beautiful natural barrier to drift, to lines of people. Right. So that was gone. Then I wanted to make sure that I was west of the Mississippi River. So I just cut that off, gone. So now how far north do I want to be of Mexico? Okay. And then how far south of North Dakota because I want a growing season. Right. And so you lay all those things in. Then I wanted good dirt. Right. That was critical to this whole process. Right. Because you got to be able to grow your own food. I wanted water. Right. So pretty soon that eliminated southern Oklahoma and, some of those kind of things because I wanted to be in a place that got at least 34 inches of rain per year because based upon my calculations, that's what I needed. And so, but I just kept, and then pretty quick, you're like, wow, that's pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
There I am.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. It was easy.
So now, are you interested in kind of helping scale this where other people can do it with or without you? What's your next steps on this? Because the way you're doing it is the way. It's completely based on voluntarism and off-grid and decentralized everything. So what's next, do you think?
Yeah, I would love to help others. And we're actually already doing it. I talk all the time to a community being built in Indiana all the time. I talk to people in Tennessee who are kind of going through some of these kind of things all the time. So this is not my way. It's just a way. And I'll help anybody, anywhere, anytime. I probably do 2 or 3 Zooms a week with some community somewhere trying to figure out how to take that next step. So I'm voluntarism, right? I'm volunteering my time to help grow because in the grand scheme of things, what I would love to see happen. I don't know if we could pull this off, Jim, but this is what I get excited about.
Let's do it.
Right. How do I transport the goods that you can grow where you are and the goods that I can grow where I am? How can I create this interstate network completely outside of the system?
Supply chain.
Yeah, the supply chain, right? Because this is going to be a big issue because I promise you guys, and I know this, I live 100% off grid on a homestead. We produce a lot, but I'll never get to a point where I produce everything. It is impossible.
You won't have bananas on site.
Never. I'm not getting there. And so how do I connect to these other communities and how do we, barter or trade, or how do we create this commerce, this parallel economy where we can exit the system a little bit? I don't want to go on a rant here, but let me explain real quick.
I want to rant.
So $1, if you look at $1, and you guys know I come from economics, okay? So if you look at $1, so you get paid $1 on average. The average taxes of an American today are 59%. Now, what I'm talking about is income tax, property tax, tax at the gas station, tax at the grocery store. If you actually calculated all the taxes we pay, it's about 59%. So then I have 41.
It hurts my head.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. Sorry. So what's left over at that 59 is 41%. And then you take that 41% and you go pay the plumber. Well, he gets treated with the same 59% treatment. By the time that dollar travels to 3 people, the federal government has absorbed it all back. It's the land of make-believe. It's not real. And anybody that thinks it's real doesn't understand how it works. It is not real. And so if I can make that dollar jump to 6, 7, or 8, what happens is this magical thing. My dollar gains in value and theirs loses.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
How do I do that? How do I extend the life of that process? And it's a challenge, but I'm up for it.
I love it.
Oh.
And one of the things we talked about at the Next Steps event is when you turn that dollar into freedom, which is what you're talking about. How do we turn that fiat? How do we compost it and turn it into freedom?
Yeah.
Right?
Jim, that's got to be a t-shirt. Compost your dollar.
Yeah.
I would buy that t-shirt.
Do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the hard part, Jim, and Matthew, is that this system is designed to beat us at this. Yeah. It is flat out designed to do it. I mean, if you look at the way the society is built today, what's going to happen is you're going to go to high school, which you're going to be programmed all the way back from the Prussian school system, where the Prussian army was defeated by the French and the Prussians said, hey, we need to create a better soldier. That system was created, the industrial school system. The governor of Massachusetts then went over there, adopted the system, brought it back. That's the system that we use today. So you're indoctrinated into the school system. You get out of school, you go to college, probably get in a whole lot of debt, or you go into the workforce. Either way, you work 40 years for a company, to which at the end you're given a gold watch and told to piss off, to which then at the end you go on Social Security. You get into, the nursing home. They use a Medicare spend down. They get all the assets back, and they want you to die as quick as you can because you're no longer productive to the system.
Boom.
That's how it works, right?
The whole system is built like that. They give you cancer, they disease you, and they do all that stuff. So they take it all back at the end, and you die. And then you buy a coffin. I mean, if everybody listening, do not put me in an effing coffin.
Right.
I want to grow a fruit tree.
Amen.
Yeah, right.
Amen. Yeah.
Right? Oh,
but guys, I think enough of us get together, Jim, and Matthew. I think we can fix a lot of this. I think we can create. I don't know that we can ever totally fix it, which is why it's parallel, not counter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think we can get a long way. I think we just have to, become leaders and selfless and committed to the process.
Yeah. And
this is definitely a leadership moment.
Yeah,
definitely.
And what I've experienced, being selfless brings me the most joy I could get.
Yep.
Right. So in other words, being selfless is the most selfish thing I could do.
Yeah. Crazy.
There's no reason not to do this. There's no reason not to serve our community to the highest and best we possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, you know how badass it is that right now I could pick up my cell phone, which is sitting right here next to me, and I could send out a text and have 40 people at my farm in 2 hours.
That's epic. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In fact, now what you just described is a layer of the Freedom Farm Academy that we're demonstrating here at Goss Landing as well. Is I right now can send out a message and I could do the same thing. I could probably have hundreds of people, maybe even thousands, with a few hours or a day's notice. And that's part of the strategy. Because if force and violence comes my way, we want the cameras and the lights on that force and violence. And then we want and this is completely peaceful. What I'm advocating is to expose force and violence using peaceful means. Yeah. Because then it will hide every time.
Yeah. But violence is never going to be the answer, especially here, because they're so much more powerful than we'll ever be. Yeah. It's not even close, and I make this argument all the time to people who say, hey, let's go protest. I'm like, you're wasting your time. Yeah. You're not doing anything. All a protest does is it allows the elected bureaucrats to stand up on a platform and say, look, democracy works, as they go back to what they were doing. It's worthless. Yeah.
Or it gives them a vehicle to come send out their horses to trample on people.
Right. It doesn't do nothing. Instead, let's vote with our dollar. Let's stretch our dollar. Let's get these, the Food Forest Abundance Project up off the ground and many more like it.
Yes.
Let's figure it out, because it'll stretch the dollar. It'll get it to
exactly. We're growing freedom. Like literally, that's what we're all about, is growing freedom. Because when you put that energy into freedom, it goes over all sorts of areas of life. Disease, health, joy, mass extinction, deforestation. When we use a fraction of the energy that the military and the churches are using to control the minds of people into actually growing freedom, then we win the whole thing. We decentralize the whole system.
This disease conversation, I've been listening to a book called The Invisible Rainbow, and it's about the electrification of the world. And there's some sections in there regarding heart disease and diabetes, two of the #1 killers in the world today. And we've got these beliefs embedded into us from the medical system that heart disease is, lack of exercise, poor food choices, that kind of thing. And diabetes is because of all the sugar we consume. Turns out, if you listen to this book, you're going to have a whole different belief about that afterwards, because it directly correlates 100% with the electrification of the world.
Mm-hmm.
To the most recent example of there's a country in the Himalayas right between like Bhutan. Does that sound right? Like
Sounds
right between like China and Mongolia and all up there. It was the last country in the world to get electrified. They had no prevalence of heart disease, like literally wasn't even written about, didn't exist, or diabetes. And then all of a sudden they decided to bring in electricity and go from like 0 to 100% inside 10 years. Both of those, heart disease and diabetes, skyrocketed. So they have proven that electricity, the EMF, is the cause of heart disease and diabetes. It is not to do with our food, our lack of exercise, any of that stuff. It is directly tied to the electromagnetic fields around us. Remember, we're electricity.
Yes, we are.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is being messed with by all the devices. Like I'm sitting in front of 2 monitors right now. This microphone, my cell phone, my internet router, right? I got wireless speakers over here. How many other people are surrounded by this stuff all day, every day? And now we've got this field of things that's really destroying our health. We don't even realize that it's doing so.
Yeah.
And then we've, prescription drugged these things, right? The statins and the insulin and all these things that you're on for life. And they expected that the numbers would drop, right? As the people are using the blood thinners and the statins and whatnot, that heart disease would decline. It hasn't. All that's happened is we're letting people live longer with the heart problems that are actually caused from the electricity.
Yeah. Crazy.
And I would debate and the poisons in the food. And
yes, it's an and for sure. Those things
definitely
don't
not
help
just
it.
electricity. We also can eat poisonous food.
Yes.
Well, and I would also argue the stressors of keeping up with the Jones and trying to keep up with what society says we're supposed to be has a lot to do with it too. Living in that life versus being creative and being who you are and being expressive to who you are and respectful of, the other people, who they are. So I think it's a combination of a lot of those things.
Yeah.
It is. Fascinating book, though. Highly recommend you guys go through it.
Cool.
Invisible Rainbow.
Cool. I will definitely check it out. There's so many good books that are coming to me lately, and it's busy.
Yeah.
Man. Hey, speaking of books, Tag, what are your favorites, historically speaking? Do you have any ones that really shaped your way of thinking?
Oh man, there's so many of them. I think I would start with the classic book Atlas Shrugged. Had a big impact on me, because what I learned about it is, and this is like one of the challenges we have now, how do we take our production out of the system?
Yeah.
Because the votes don't matter. I'm convinced 100%. You cannot convince me that Joe Biden is the most popular president in the history of the world. There's nothing you can tell me that will convince me of this. So I would start with Atlas Shrugged. But the other thing I like to do is, like the one I'm working on right now, if you ever, right here, The Boy in 7 Billion. And, and you met her, Jim, when we were, the lady who wrote this, you met her when we were at the conference.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Remember that lady whose boy had 2 forms of cancer, and I went and found you and said, you need to talk to this lady?
Oh, I love her. Yes.
That's her book.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And so I like to read stories about how just normal, average people who were never destined to be heroes.
Yeah.
Right. Who stood up and took charge and said no.
Yeah.
And those, I like reading about those kinds of stories, because it gives me so much inspiration to be better than I am today and to not let my community down. Because I went on a big fight and I took on the corporate world, but I didn't take on anything like she did.
Right. Oh man, her story's amazing. In fact, I've already introduced her, I think, to our team. We're going to have Matthew. I introduced you to her. We're going to have her on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Kelly Blackwell. Yeah. She's a badass.
So cool. And wow, that might be a tearjerker right there, that whole show, because she is so full of passion and she's done such good work as a mother. I mean, that's a people, if the powers that be, the evil, not the powers, if the forces that be are going to be scared of anything, it's going to be the mother.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what's so cool about her story and why I relate to it so much isn't what she went through, because although that's traumatic, right? And she saved her son's life, and she was treating him behind the scenes against the medical establishment, which that's all badass and that's all cool. But what I really like about it is once he was healed, she went on the offense, and she went out in an effort to save other people. She could have very well walked away right then and said, I won. I'm going to go back to my normal life and, be a housewife or whatever. But instead she stuck her heels in the ground and said, bring it on. I'm in. Let's do this right here. That is what this world needs.
That is. I'm excited that we're going to be chatting with her on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. She's super cool.
Good stuff. So one of the things that we talked about is the Freedom Farm Academy model added to what you're doing and combining energies. And that's why I'm so excited we've met and to have you on the show, is because your model, along with creating the supply chain hubs, right? You talked about how do we create these new supply chains? That's what the Freedom Farm Academy is. Right. It's the hub center of supply chain. It's the reverse Walmart, where everything in there helps people be completely free, all the way from homeopathy, healing center, all of the tools, the solar, the water, the filters, all of the different tools for freedom, where we can kind of show and demonstrate these, and then everybody in our communities can grow. Like we're putting in 3 big time food forests right in our community right now from people who've come to Gall's Landing and they said, I got to have this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think I agree with you that if we can figure out through your model, because I think what's interesting about all this, Jim, is that you had it partially right. I have it partially right? I mean, and we get enough of this, I think, going together. I think it's exactly what it becomes, and how do you create these hubs? And just as importantly, how do you educate people to do for themselves, which is a beautiful thing that will come out of all of this. By your efforts, they'll be less dependent on the hub.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. Which is completely cool. So I'm very excited about, I know you and I have future meetings coming up to learning about how we can integrate that to the bigger picture.
Yep.
My community that I have here, they don't really need me anymore. I know that sounds bad, but they really don't. It's on autopilot.
What you want.
That's right.
What we want. Yeah.
Great leaders. They're doing their thing. I'm not really involved other than tell me when to show up.
Yeah.
So I've got some time to go do some of these other things, and I'm excited about it. I'm really looking forward to those conversations. I really am.
Yeah. And then we inspire, because this is a logical business model. And that's why your finance mind is, I think, it's just such perfect timing, because when we show the billionaires around the world who are at the edge of waking up, that this is not only fits the model of, hey, this is how we attain our freedom, but it's also a good investment.
Yeah. Well, it's actually it is in the best interest of national security.
Yes.
It really is, because it takes the dependency away from other places.
100%.
Right? Yeah. We're not, subject to the just-in-time inventory system of, the Walmarts and it takes some of that sovereignty back, not just for us, but as for our nation. So if they're smart, they will look at it like that.
We have like the issues with the globalists, right, who are trying to do this new world order. And then at the same time, I have this interesting thing in my head where I'm like, well, we're all just humans anyways. We should just all be one world. We shouldn't have these invisible borders anymore. Countries shouldn't exist. Right. So on one side, I'm like, I agree that we should all be one world. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, I'm like, the way they're trying to do it, I don't like that part. Yeah. Right. So it's like, how do we get the best of what it is we're really hoping for, which is all of us have the same freedoms to travel anywhere we want, empower everybody to be great people, make sure that everybody has enough, because we know that, the crime and war and all those things happen out of greed or having not enough, right? Lots of times someone commits a crime because they don't have enough to take care of their family. So they get desperate and do something desperate. Majority of people, vast majority, are good internally. They don't want to do anything bad. They have internal moral compass, but they do these things out of desperation. So it's like, how do we get to that place where we have the true liberty and freedom, and everybody sees everybody else as brothers and sisters and that world union without having that governmental influence on it?
Yeah, I think we go gold, because here's the problem, right? Is that
We go what? Say that again.
We go galt.
Galt.
Right. We actually take our production elsewhere, because here's the problem is that your idea of everyone, is great people and we can all work together. And that's all fine and dandy, except the evil that already resides at the top. We are not going to beat them by playing their rules. They're the rules set up where we can't.
No. Yes.
Never going to happen. I mean, it's cotton candy and rainbow farts, right? It's not going to happen. No, so we have to find the alternative economies and alternative societies that we can grow parallel to what's going on. And I think enough people catch on and go, hey, this is a good thing, then maybe.
Yeah.
The problem is, guys, they're going to use the Great Reset. They're going to use the ESG systems, environmental socialist governance scores. They're going to use all this to pick winners and losers. And if we play their game, we will be the losers.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think, the community that we're building is called Galt's Landing, right? Mm-hmm. It's just what you're saying is amazing. Awesome. Yeah. And so demonstrating what Matthew was referring to is the only logical way, right? To live and breathe it, to be the change that Gandhi talked about. And then, Tag, you mentioned the military strategy. What we're describing is the idea whose time has come stronger than all of the armies of the world. It's the ultimate military strategy. And I was on the phone last night with General Holt and 2 Green Berets, Dr. Pete Chambers, and Michael Yan, who's a globally known war correspondent who's now living at Galt's Landing. These guys are staying there for a while, right? So we're actually talking about this from every strategic perspective, and it's happening at scale. And that's the fun part. That's what, Tag, I'm so excited to bring you in on these conversations, because your finance mind adds that piece of the puzzle that really turns billions and trillions of dollars of fiat, which is going down, into freedom, which must go up.
Yeah, we need more of the taggarts, from Atlas Shrugged, right? We need these visionaries. We need these these people, like you talked about the generals and you talked about all these. We need these smart people to take a stand and take their productivity out of the system. And if we do that, we're going to win. I'm telling you, you'll win.
Yeah.
But it's pretty hard when everyone is so focused on the keyless entry culture. I like it right now. I do this right now. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. Living off grid is hard work. I don't care what anybody tells you. If they tell you that it's easy, they don't live off grid. I promise you this is true. Okay. I know, because I live it every single day. But you can have safety or you can have freedom. You can't have both. You have to.
Right. And you kind of alluded to living off grid might be harder than living in an HOA where you've got all these things right there, but it's a lot easier than dying. It's a lot easier than having the whole world being destroyed, which is what's going on now. So in other words, it's relatively speaking, it's the only logical choice.
Yeah, when I'm going to say it's harder, I more mean just from a physical perspective, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't have 2,000 people behind my light switch to ensure it comes on. I have to do that.
Yeah.
If something breaks down, there's nobody to call. I have to do that. Yeah. And so from a physical perspective, it's harder. But guys, from a mental perspective, it's 10,000 times easier. I sleep so good. Like, I'm not stressed about, oh my God, I got to make this quota, or this has got to get done. I've got to yield this rate. I gotta, the shareholders, oh my goodness. I mean, I don't have those stressors anymore. I'm more worried about how do I stop my chickens from fighting?
Yeah.
So it's harder physically, but mentally it's way more rewarding and
but good physical beings, so that's probably a good thing, actually, after all.
It's good though.
It pushes you back into action instead of the complacency, which is so easy to fall into, and everything is being done for us.
Yeah, you just got to do it for yourself. And you take homesteading and then off-grid living. Both of those take their own set of attention, right? Yeah. And so you only have so many hours in the day. So where do you give your attention to? Like, people say to me things like, hey, what do you think about composting toilets? I think they're fine, except here's the problem. Yeah, you have to mess with it. And so because you have to mess with it, that amount of hours in a week, a month, or a year that you're messing with it cannot be applied to your garden, cannot be applied to. So what you have to think about when you're going through this process is, where does my energy capital get placed? Because energy capital is where it's at. It's not about money. All money is a transference. My energy to yours. It's just a vehicle we use. It's worthless. Where do I apply my energy to being the greatest homestead or the greatest off-grid liver that I can? And so when you combine those two, they're just very energy intensive. And so you just got to it's management.
Mm-hmm. And that's where permaculture design, because it's an energy science. It's how do we design the system so you could be a lazy off-grid homesteader,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the piece of the puzzle that we'll bring together on, which when you say it's hard work, my experience of it is that the design and the inputs at the beginning are a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of effort and energy and thoughtfulness and creativity and planning and design. But then once it's designed, then it's not much work at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is where permaculture really shines because, again, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And so if you can save 2 or 3 hours of each day by design, that 2 or 3 hours goes to other things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just for an example, we've got a pond. We dug a pond. That was a massive amount of work. It probably cost us $100,000 to build that pond. It's a big pond. Yep. And now we put 14,000 fish in the pond. That took another input. We put a solar system with a pump and a suction, and then we put an irrigation system in. That all together was a lot of energy in. Now the water comes on automatically, brings the fish pond into the fruit trees, and we don't have to do shit. Will it go out sometime? Yes. Then we'll have to change the pump, or then we'll have to fix the solar panels. But for years, possibly, and logically, we're not going to have to do anything, and we're going to have our food forest growing.
Yeah, and then all those hours get to go to making the rest of the infrastructure better, or those hours get to go to building your community, or those hours get to go somewhere else. I mean, and that's what it's all about.
Fishing.
Yep. Yeah. I try to challenge the manual thing at every freaking corner I can challenge it. You know, how do I make it where I can eliminate those 20 steps with that bucket? Or how can I eliminate, because man, it's just like I said, there's only so many hours in the day.
Right? That's permaculture design. You're nailing it.
Wow. So in your community tag, have you like strategically brought in people with different skill sets as well to ensure you had different things covered, like medical care and dental care and things that most people need in their communities?
Yeah, I think this is a great question because we do it 2 different ways. Jim and I talked about this a little bit. So like I just found a piece of land yesterday and I already done a video on it. It's getting ready to go out. But because it's listed with a realtor, I go down a different path. And so what I mean by that is someone's going to buy it. And I would rather have the like-minded unknown than just the unknown. So I'm just going to advertise it. I'll get what I get. Either they may become part of the community, they may not, but at least I get the like-minded vote. So that accomplishes one goal for me. If, though, I get a hold of the land before it's listed, which happens quite often, I bet about 50% of the time I get a hold of the land before it's even listed. In that particular case, I send out a survey, and yes, I'm looking for something particular, and I'm trying to, vet this process the best that I can all the way through. But we have a dentist, we have a doctor, right? We have a constitutional sheriff. We have, and this is just through time and pressure. You know, we just moved in a doctor from New Mexico who's coming up, just bought their land, closed on it. They're in the middle of construction that are coming up. We got a couple teachers recently, some pretty cool stuff. So I guess to answer your question, 2 parts. Sometimes depends on the situation.
Yep. When it's available and you intend for it to happen, so that makes it come. Yeah. So how can we help with that? I guess we'll share that video in the show notes. Matthew, can we do that? For the
after the fact, not the same way. Okay. In some places, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's another way. Anybody listening to this, if you want to be part of this, if you want to meet Tag and potentially participate in what he's doing, then get a hold of me or Matthew and we'll help make the connection.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you can find me on, my YouTube channel, LifeDoneFree. On freesteading, one of the cool things about the freesteading platform is if you just sign up for an account and connect with me, you can actually message me directly. Beautiful. I have a lot of people who all get a message and be like, hey, how do we do this or whatever, which is fine. So yeah, I'm easily, you can get a hold of me real easy, real easy. And I welcome it. I think if, once we get this county completely infiltrated, which we're a long ways in, we're already starting on some of the surrounding counties now, but we'll just continue to grow it. And then hopefully we can, every state in America will have, their own community, and we can then begin to network those things together and take the strengths. Just like this relationship here, Jim, your strength is my weakness.
And vice versa. It's beautiful. It's like the antivirus, and the way you did that when you showed that, I could see it. where all of a sudden you got a seed. Your community is a seed of freedom, and it's growing. And then we, all over the place, we help to inspire and empower these seeds and plant these seeds, and then.
Yep. It's amazing. Just simply amazing.
Yeah. Has everybody in the group become American state nationals as well? Is that something people go down?
No, we've done lots of research into these kinds of things. And luckily for me, I have a community member who's an attorney.
Yeah.
And, so that helps us out a whole lot. And so we kind of go on, his guidance in a lot of ways. But there have been a lot of research on that, a lot of research on the sovereign citizen stuff, a lot of research on, and I don't really know what the answer is. I don't know how, it might sound crazy to you guys, but I'm kind of at a point in my life where I don't need their permission to be sovereign.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm living my life according to my rules, and I don't get, if I want to go build a barn, I'm just going to go build a barn. I ain't asking nobody because it's my land and I own it and I paid for it.
Yeah.
You better have a fucking warrant.
You were telling us a story at the event about when somebody with the uniform pulls you over, you don't just acquiesce.
No. Yeah, no, if they pull me over, they'd bring a whole bunch of cars. But here's the crazy thing. I'm not violent at all.
Yeah.
I just have enough courage to tell them no.
Yeah.
They think I'm combative, but the truth is I'm not at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I love that.
Better have a reason.
Yep. No, I do not comply. No, you don't. I'm not your slave.
You work for me. And frankly, you're failing right here.
Yep. Oh, buddy, it's fun. Wow.
So how did you acquire that confidence? That's what a lot of people are going to wonder is, right? Like, how can they stand in their own power to behave, a way they know is right, but they get fear as soon as they see that uniform?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is, quit watching Fox News and CNN and quit watching the shit they're feeding you.
Yeah.
Second thing is research for yourself, because the fact of the matter is you don't have to give them a driver's license and registration and insurance until they've identified why you've been pulled over. You don't have to. They say you do, and the cop will actually lie to you. Yes, it is. I know the law. No, you don't. Which law?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just a matter of when I went through all of this chaos in my life, because they took a big career from me. I had a great life. I made lots of money, traveled, did all these things. Part of taking my own sovereignty back, right? My food sovereignty, my energy sovereignty, and all of these sovereignties, back into my life is I had to understand it. And so I just did lots of research and read lots of things. And, yesterday I was reading Kansas, which is the state I'm in, Kansas statutes in reference to shareholder law, right? Because there's an issue that may come up in my future that I want to look at. So I just read, instead of spending your energy capital on Fox News and CNN, understand the rules. It's just not simple. For example, I'll give you an example. In my county, as long as you build a building that's under 350 square feet, it's not taxed on. Know it. It's not complicated. Just know it. Yeah. So you know what? My chicken coop, I may have 12 of them before it's all over, but they're all at 349 square feet. It's not complicated.
Right. Awesome.
And I think as you learn more and more, you get more and more confident in it.
That's the thing. I have my first trust now, and everything's in trust, all sorts of stuff. And I'm simply not part of their system.
Right.
Right. So, yeah.
I would expect nothing less at Gulch Landing.
What was that?
I said I would expect nothing less at Gulch Landing.
Right? Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not part of your system. Piss off. And by the way, do you want some food? Because here, I'll help you grow food. I'll help you be free. I'll help you like crazy. Just don't try to harm me or anything or my family or my friends. Yeah.
So Tag, has anything happened with you being removed from that company now that more of the truth or the bullshit that they've been pulling has been coming to light? Are you fighting back with that? Not because you want your job back necessarily, but for the principle of all of it?
Yeah, I think, I could go play and I don't know how to say this, but to just say it, to me, that's playing small. Right. At the end of the day, I don't want to work for a company that my values no longer align with. Mm-hmm. And I think I can do more damage on the other side, but the company has struggled a lot. They lost at the time when I left. Only 2 of the original board members are left. They're all gone. I'm gone. Most of the employees, I say most, but a good chunk of them are gone. And so they've really struggled a lot. So here's the thing is they're paying for it every day.
Yeah.
And they're through their existence, they're going to continue to pay for it. I don't have to do anything. All they have to do is just let it fall out. The flip side of that is I could go and sue them probably, right? I've even talked to some attorneys about it in the past, but I think I can better serve the world by doing what I'm doing right now, which is reaching out, yoking up. I just think I can do more damage there. And here's the cool thing at the end of the day. They can't take anything from me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. I love that. And I did the exact same thing. I had a really strong case to sue, but it would have taken my energy to go through that process. I'm like, that's not what I want to spend my energy on. I would rather spend my energy doing what I'm doing than worrying about this other BS, right? That's in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. It's obviously picking and choosing your battles wisely, and what ones are you better to walk away from, to live to fight another day, and put your attention on being a leader in a different place. I completely agree on that side. And then at the same time, the reason it made me ask that question was, we're seeing a lot of people who have been removed who didn't really have other choices at that time. A single mom who had multiple kids, and she stood up for what she believed in, and now she may be living on the street and doesn't have the same way to go out and do something different. So sometimes, in this scenario today, they flat out lied.
Oh, yes.
They lied. They know they lied. Not everybody lied, but they went along with it. There was serious manipulation of data. They were telling us it was a pandemic of the unjabbed, even though if you got jabbed and you were in the hospital on day 8, you were still counted as not. Or if you died on day 11, you were still counted as not. Right? They manipulated so much stuff. They changed definitions. They fucked with people.
Yeah.
And so many people have had their families destroyed, right? Man and woman don't agree. So woman leaves, takes kids. Man now is left without. There's just been just terrible what's gone on. And it's all been through lying and manipulation. And then now it's like, how do we bring all that up and make the people who were doing this stuff accountable for what's gone on? Like, where do we choose to have those fights? Or do we just choose to totally just leave it and go the other direction? It's an interesting thing that I go through in my head.
Yeah, Matthew, this is such the hard thing, because I think I agree with you. I lost my dad to COVID. And at the same time I was going through all that stuff, my dad got COVID and died. Okay, now his death certificate said COVID. What they didn't put on his death certificate is he had just had a kidney transplant, and then he had major organ failure, and he had heart disease, right? You didn't see any of that shit. But at the end of the day, so my life was tore apart by this whole mess. The problem is I just no longer believe we can beat them playing their rules.
Right.
I just don't. I mean, and you can go back to the election of Biden. The guy's a dumbass. I'm not a big Trump fan, so you guys know, because I think the Republicrats have completely abandoned us from both sides of the party. Yeah. But you just cannot convince me that Sleepy Joe is the most popular president in the history of the world. I just don't see how we're going to win playing their game. I just don't see it.
No. We're doing it. I mean, I think we're doing it right. In fact, I know it, because look at the energy that's being created around this. It's beautiful. Yeah. And we're bringing in great people. Like, we're inspiring and attracting each other. Like, it's like the parallel society is well on its way.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. There are communities like mine, and maybe not just like mine, but in every state. What they're not is organized, because what they want to do is, as you mentioned, Jim, earlier in this conversation, they want to hide behind the scenes.
Yeah. That's not going to work nowadays. We cannot hide from evil. You might be able to hide from a wicked politician or some of these, but maybe a mob boss, but you cannot hide from evil.
Yeah.
And that's what's
and I have a message for all of those people out there hiding. If you hide long enough, there'll be nobody left to stand with you.
Oh man, I got the chills. Yeah.
Right.
Nailed it.
So let's get on the offense. We can do this peacefully. I tell people all the time, violence will never solve it. It won't solve it. But what will solve it is vote with your dollar.
Yeah.
What will solve it is stretch that dollar. Don't let it get back to them in 3 transactions.
Yeah.
Right? Like, focus on it. I do. I have a Tractor Supply 5 miles from my house and refuse to do business there. Instead, I drive 40 miles, right, to go get the supplies that I need. It's just a decision.
Exactly. They probably told you to mask up when you came in one time, and you said, "I'm gone."
Yeah, no, you know what actually got me from them is it started, remember that big deal that went on in Waco with the LBGQ community thing with Tractor Supply? So instead of just taking the news, I went and researched it and dug into it and figured out, I don't know if you know this, but there was like 5 churches that donated to that event. Wow. It wasn't just churches, right? Which you think would surprise you. But anyway, but as I started digging into their board members and started looking at it, they have members on there who served on for like Vanguard as the board of directors for Vanguard, and are really pushing the ESG systems. And so the people who are in charge of Tractor Supply today are very for the ESG, the social, which I'm 100% opposed to. Stay out of my life. Yeah. I don't need them to tell me to be nice. I can be nice on my own. I'm a grown man. Yeah. Right. And so I just said, I'm not doing business with them anymore. And so I just don't.
Love it. I'm glad you shared that with everybody.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, brother, I'm so excited that we are connected. And if anybody out there is interested in this, freesteading.com is right there on the page. And let's grow freedom.
Yeah, I'm in. And, let's put all of our egos aside, right? None of it matters, right? What matters is that at the end of the day, we can get as many people as we can living free, because Matthew, you talk about how we punish them. That's how we do it. Yeah. If we can go stand up and all of us can live free, now we've got some swing. Give me the backing of 1 million people and I'll show you how you punish them. Mm-hmm. But we're just not going to do it alone. We're just not.
And that's what's happening. I'm so excited. And we'll get in our follow-up meeting. We'll layer out all the details and the energy pieces and the strategic tactical pieces that are being employed right now. And oh my gosh, I'm glad we're connected.
There's hundreds of millions of us, if not billions of people who are thinking the same way we are. Like generally, right, from an ethical value place, and now you're so right, getting them all organized.
I'll tell you guys a quick story. When I was on the plane going to Georgia to speak at that convention, I sat next to a black guy right next to me who come from the hood, and him and I started talking. So I come from rural country, right? So redneck, right? He comes from the hood, thug. I'm just talking about the stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so him and I start talking about the Great Divide and how is it that we're taught to hate each other when he's my brother and we're the same. And we had this like 2-hour conversation about quit listening to the bullshit. And, him and I are now texting almost every day. And, he's trying to figure out how to live free in his own way. And I'm living free in my own way. And at the end of the day, like I told him, I said, Bud, quit watching the news. Because I'm going to tell you something. I live in redneck country. Right. And I don't know a single racist. Not one.
Exactly.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that hates like that. So it's the media, it's the news, it's people trying to keep us divided. Guys, we are one people. We are one people. If we'll just stand together and quit listening to the bullshit, we'll be just fine.
Yeah. Your level of melanin in your skin, I don't give a shit.
I don't care what you do at night behind your closed doors. I don't care. I don't care. I could care less.
Yep. Freedom. Awesome, brother. Well, I've got to fly. I love you, and very excited for all the good things to come.
Yep.
Yeah, Tag, thanks so much for joining us today on the show. Awesome conversation. Lots of love to you, man. Thank you for being such an inspiration and doing what you're doing.
Yeah, let's go kill it. Hold the line. Don't give an inch.
That's right. Hold the line.
All right. Ciao, everybody. Share this message. There's somebody that would benefit from seeing this message. So if you're listening, please share this with your friends. Let's do it.
Amen.
All right. Ciao.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. All right. We'll just play a couple quick ads and let everybody go on their way. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
At Weston A. Price Foundation, we're dedicated to restoring nutrient-dense, farm-fresh foods to the human diet. We look to ancient food and health practices for clues on how to live our healthiest, most vibrant lives today. Join the mission and check out our exclusive membership details at westonaprice.org. As a member, you'll receive our quarterly journal on wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts, our annual shopping guide, monthly access to private Q&A sessions with experts, consultations on state laws, regulations, and policies, including food freedom legislation, and so much more. Weston A. Price Foundation. Let's return to wise traditional foods.
Hey, Jim Gale Show listeners, again, thank you for tuning in. We love having you here. We're so honored. And, you know, I want to give you a little bit of exciting news. We've decided to offer complimentary food forest strategy sessions with a certified permaculture designer. These are 30-minute sessions where you get to sit down with someone who can really help you with a strategy for your own property. It's a great chance for you to ask some questions and learn and just really to dig into what's possible. This is 30 minutes with someone who's certified, knows all about permaculture and what's possible using this incredible science and working with nature. So head over to foodforestabundance.com and schedule your 30-minute food forest strategy session today. Again, that's foodforestabundance.com. And remember, get yourself registered for that 30-minute strategy session. And for doing so, we're going to give you a $100 coupon as well. So get over there, have some fun, learn about what's possible for you and your own property, and let's get growing some food. Thanks again for tuning in to the Jim Gale Show. All right. Thank you so much for joining us again today. We have a couple episodes actually coming up tomorrow. There will be one at 10 a.m. Eastern time and then a second at 3:45 Eastern time. In the morning, we're meeting with Majid, Like Magic, from the expert speaker who's just coming off a great 3-day event he hosted here in Ottawa. And then at 3:45, 4 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to be sitting down with Curtis Stone, Canadian. His business was the Urban Farmer. Curtis had 1/10 of an acre of property and built himself a 6-figure business. He has since moved into the mountains in Canada and Liberty off-grid. So Curtis Stone conversation will be an excellent one. Look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Hope you had enjoyed the show today and that you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk with you soon.